What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the LA Soccer Hub Show. My name is Gio Garcia. Today, we're coming to you on a Tuesday, January 25th. Coming down to the last week or second to last week of January. Seems like this offseason's been going by pretty fast. So many moves. Both teams. Today, we're going to talk about both teams. We're talking about LAFC the first 30 minutes, and the second 30 minutes, we're talking LA Galaxy. There's so many different things. So, let me introduce my guest for the first half. We got Andy Diosa from Yahoo. And we got JP, my boy JP looks like he got a haircut. JP, I'm gonna start off with you, bro. Tell me about the cut, bro. You looking fly.
It's not a new cut. I got a buzz cut and it's just growing out. So we'll see. We'll see how long I let it go out.
Was the buzz cut intentional or did your barber mess up?
No, I asked for it. I asked for it.
All right. Because sometimes you be getting those buzz cuts. You're like, messed
Just
up.
just chop it. No.
Just stop. Andy, tell me about the jersey you wear, man. You're looking fly over there.
This is Envigado Football Club, man. Won today, 1-0 here in Medellin. One of the four teams of the city, one of the lower scale teams. But gotta support. I'm still out here, so repping the club.
I feel that. I feel that, man. I feel like this offseason, since I've covered the MLS, this is gonna be my fifth year. It's been really exciting offseason with all the moves, not just in LA, but the whole league, the players coming and going and everything. And it's exciting. I think just is speaking volumes of how the league keeps growing and growing. Andy, tell me about your thoughts of what we've been seeing these last couple of weeks.
It's been great, man. I think you nailed it. It really is growing tremendously. I think we've seen it for the past few years a lot more closely because I think LA has really been in the middle of all of it. When you think about Zlatan being here, obviously Vela, Chicharito, things like that. But just the way that players are coming in and out, the way that players are growing, being sold to either European clubs or other clubs around the world, it's definitely a testament of what the league has. And it's funny, even just I was talking to a player today here in Colombia and he was asking me about how's the league over there, and I'm like, hey man, like every year it just gets better and better. So I'm 100% happy, excited. It's just I feel like MLS for the people that are in the circle and cover it or are fans of it get to enjoy it a lot because MLS is as unpredictable as it gets, in my opinion. And for casual fans trying to get into it, I feel like it's becoming a lot more easy now to do that. So all thumbs up on all accounts there.
Yeah. JP, what are your thoughts on the league as a whole, making all this noise with the players coming and going?
Yeah, this is MLS's, I guess, best transfer window in its history. You got players going to Europe. You got players going to big clubs in South America. You got a lot of big money and corporations. The forward at FC or at Houston for 5 mil. So a lot of teams are making moves for big amount of money. It just helps expose the league, give it an exposure, and just showing how it's growing. Testament to what the league has been doing for the last 5 years, just growing and always going up and up in viewership, exposure, and everything. And the overall level of play, which is what we all want to see, is also rising and growing. So MLS is just going up from here.
Yeah, no, I'm loving it, man. Everything that I see from this league, every step that it keeps coming and going. There's big names coming. Young players like Pepe, is developing, going to other places. He went to Augsburg and stuff, and it's just being around that and seeing that it's really special just to be able to also grow with the league. But let's talk about this LAFC team, man. They've been making moves. We knew about Cristian Costa, we knew about Lee Sanchez. But they finally got the goalkeepers. They got the goalkeepers, Maximin Cabral and John McCarthy. I feel like we have to talk about this. Has to be the first thing we talk about because if we're going to be honest, that's one of the first that Andy, you and I have talked about it. JP, we've talked about it. That's the position that's just been a turnover. And they haven't been able to lock it down. Now they got that Maximin Capro. I'm butcher his name, but I'm gonna get it right by the end of the podcast. But that is a big name, right? A big name around the league, and it's a solid name, and I think that's what you need. And I also felt like I always felt this about the league in general. I feel like the league has solid goalkeepers. Yes, you can bring out goalkeepers from you can go out to England and go out there overseas, but I just felt like LAFC didn't really need to do that throughout these whole years, and they finally get a player from the league. Andy, what are your thoughts on this signing on these signings?
Huge. LAFC nailed it. I mean, like you said, we've talked about goalkeeping for them this whole time throughout the four years, and I think that if there's they're going local, right? With local within the league, I guess. And you bring in a player of that stature, somebody that plays for the Canadian national team who has been not only making great strides in MLS, but making great strides with that Canadian team. And we know how much of a hassle they've been in CONCACAF qualifiers and how much energy they play with. But that's the energy that Crepeau brings. And he's been a great keeper in MLS since he's been around, but he's just growing so much. And it's funny because people forget that he was basically the guy that kind of kept LAFC out of the playoffs last season. That game that they needed to win at the bank, it was a 1-1 game. And LAFC for like the last 20, 25 minutes was absolutely just on top of the Whitecaps. And he was blocking everything, keeping the ball out of the net. If it wasn't for him, LAFC probably makes the playoffs. And, you know, not to say that that changes everything, but it changes a lot of what happened last year. So this is a A-plus home run. I think this might be the best thing that LAFC did all offseason. And we're talking about big
I
pieces.
agree. I agree.
But I think this gives them so much more stability, so much more confidence. That's their number one. We're not going to go back to the Bob Bradley days where he said that they don't have a number one keeper. This is their number one. All love and respect to Tomas Romero, but it's on him now. That's it. Season starts, man. They have nothing else to do. I mean, they do have stuff to do, but if they're going to roll with this squad going into the year right now, 100% fine with that. So I think that they nailed it with this, man. And if you look around the league, and I know a lot of people have talked about it, he's been up there statistically with the best keepers in the league. So if you're a numbers guy, that should make you happy too as well. But I always say with goalkeepers, it's the eye test to me. A lot of things in goalkeepers don't really need to go with statistics and need to go with all that. Eye test gives you a lot of what you need to know about keepers. And Maxime Crepeau is one hell of a keeper. So LAFC, man, I pat JT on the back for that one for sure.
Yeah, definitely much respect. And the moves that JT has been getting these offseason. Look, he's been under fire, and I would say rightfully so after last season. But he's come back around and now built this team with the MLS experience, which was missing last season. And I think this is a great move. You get a solid goalkeeper. You just talked about the statistics, and also it's someone veteran, really knows the league and really knows how to play the league and doesn't need to jump in and this and that. And to me, it speaks volumes of where this LAFC side after Bob Bradley with Steve Cherundolo, where it's going, and you bring in all that MLS experience. And excuse me, JP, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's a great signing. You know, if there's two things LAFC have never done is have 3 DPs and a championship level goalkeeper. So JT, you know, checked one of those off. You know, he comes with MLS experience as well as the other transfers, and he has, you know, some ferocity to him. He has an attitude to him, which is going to be great, you know, for the back line. He's going to scream at them. He's going to, you know, tell them what they need to do if they're slacking. And, you know, he took LAFC off the playoffs last season. You know, he was the reason why LAFC didn't make it that last game at home. But yeah, he's a great keeper. JT really nailed it with this one. You know, you didn't take a risk with getting a European keeper or a South American keeper, regardless if they were good or not. You know, it takes time to get used to the league, and Maxine is not gonna have that time to adjust. He's gonna, you know, go in day one, be the goalie, be the man, and help develop Romero. You know, it's still not like he's gonna play every single game because he's gonna get Canadian call-ups. So Romero's gonna get his time. Crepeau's gonna, you know, obviously start the big games. And we have that reassurance in the back, so it's a great pickup.
Yeah, no, I like the pickup, and also like that they went and got John McCarthy. They added more depth to that roster, and I like this, and I think this is just gonna push Romero even more because you know, there's a scrimmage, this game or exhibition game, whatever you want to call it, this Saturday against what is New England Revolution. At the bank, and I think that is going to be great because you're going to be able to see LAFC with without, you know, Maxime and Douglas Costa and everybody else is getting called up to the national team. Because if we're going to be honest, this LAFC team may look like this this season because of the World Cup year that they're in. And I'm very interested to see how Steve Cherundolo is able to balance that out and handle that. Obviously, this first game, I don't think there's necessarily much expectation, right? You want to win, but like to really see how this team really is able to play without some of those star players, some of the bigger names, because you would have to imagine going down the line that they're not going to be available coming down the sometime in the middle of the season. I don't know when the World Cup qualifiers finish, but I know it's going to interfere with some of the MLS games. We still got COVID and all those different things, so there is going to be potentially somewhat of rotating goalkeepers. because if Maxim gets called up. But I don't feel like it's going to be the same situation like we've had in the previous years because they don't feel comfortable that they don't have a number one goalkeeper. Maxim to me is clearly the number one goalkeeper. And John Thornton has done a great job adding all these pieces. Now I think it's just coming to find out. Now it's putting the team together and see how they do. Um, but yeah, as you will see photos here, you see. Oh, this is a video. But I just wanted to show some of the photos of that the LAFC Instagram account has, and I really like that. There's so much more excitement, so much more more emotion going into the season because after the last season, it was difficult. It was it was very very sad. A lot of fans are very upset as it should be. But I think now there's more momentum, more positivity out there. But yeah, Andy, how you look into this Saturday? Right, there's this preseason game. I'm not obviously you're not going to be there because you're out there living the best life in Colombia. But what would you like to see? Or what would you like to see from some of these players that are going to get that shot this weekend?
I think you bring up a great point that they're going to be missing obviously some pieces due to national team duties, which is it's what it is, right? It's the gift and the curse that LAFC is dealing with and that teams around the league are dealing with. And in a way, it's good. In a way, it's bad, obviously. But this upcoming game is really about seeing how these players.
I think we're losing you, Andy. Give us a second. I think we're losing you. But yeah, no, JP, what do you want to see this weekend?
Yeah, I want to see what formations he rolls out. If he plays defensively, if he goes all out attack, what he does, what variations of play or the formation he uses, and just see how comfortable the team looks and if the team looks happy and cohesive. You don't want a team that looks lost on the first day. You can expect that because it's a new coach, but a lot of these players know each other, so you can't really look like a chicken with no head out there. You want to see some cohesive chemistry there, and you want to test things out, and see if they're having fun and what to really expect or where to grow off of in this game.
Yeah, I think Andy, we got your back. What do you want to see from this LAFC side this Saturday?
Yeah, I think for me, it's really about the chemistry and like what the team looks like, right? What type of things are what type of movements are these players making, the attitudes. It's a preseason game, so it's not you're not going to put too much weight on it. But if you look at it from the other side, obviously we're talking a lot about the defensive effort that Sharundalo has, that experience. I'm really interested on that and see how the defense looks against a team that obviously could score goals, as last year proved. That obviously is an offensive minded team, and it's a coach like Bruce Arena who is going to want to get a lot out of this game too. So it's a great test for LAFC. But at the end of the day, JP said it right. You're looking for the chemistry. You're looking for how the team reacts, what type of attitudes, what type of movements, and more than anything, what Sharundalo is working with, what type of formations, what type of adjustments. So I think it's a little bit of everything for that first test for them to be able to move forward and see what they really have. But I think it's a really good way to open the preseason for sure.
Yeah, and look, as we see all the photos, look, everybody in the photos, everyone in the videos they've been posting, everybody looks excited, everybody looks happy, and I think that's expected, right? Because I think you want to forget as much as you can of last season, and I feel like use that some as a motivation. But now that obviously the Bob Bradley era is no longer there, you have someone new, you have new energy, you have a new voice talking to you, and I think that's expected from seeing photos of Carlos Vela smiling. We see the youngsters there smiling. Everybody's having a great time, and I think even Chicho's still there now. So I think the mood, you can tell it's completely different. It's completely different. And yeah, they have a new voice. There's new players. There's even hearing like what Franco Escobar had said, Elias Sanchez. I think you had tweeted about it. Andy, he said, I'm paraphrasing here. He said that Carlos Vela to him is the best player in the MLS. Let me ask you about that. When you heard Elias Sanchez say that, what went through your head?
I mean, it's. I think it's funny because obviously it's his teammate, right? He's also not really wrong. Like it depends how you look at it. Like if you were to tell me right now, is Carlos Vela the best player in MLS? I'm going to tell you no because for the past 2 seasons. But if we're going on a clean slate, everybody's healthy and forgetting about injuries and all that, 100%, he could obviously be the best player in the league. So I think it was. I didn't think that comment was going to catch as much attention as it did, but I think it's good to hear because obviously it's somebody that he played against. He knows who he is, and being able to see him in practice, we've heard this, from the beginning from Bob Bradley, from anybody around LAFC. Like the things that Carlos does in practice sometimes is more impressive than what he does on the field in front of 22,000 or however many people fit in the bank. So I'm sure that if he's getting that rhythm back, he's getting that energy back, being able to be next to him in practice probably is like an eye opener more so than just playing against him when you're 11v11. So that's great to hear for me because we all want to see Carlos Vela be back. I went back and forth with a few fans on Twitter, and I was like, nobody doesn't want to see Carlos Vela play at a top level. I mean, maybe the Galaxy fans don't want to, but that might be about it. Like everybody wants to see him play. We're not expecting him to be 2019 and break all the records and stuff like that. But we know how exciting and how much of a good player he is when he's on, and I think that's just beneficial to the league from a league standpoint to fans to media. Like nobody's rooting against him, so him saying that leads me to believe that Vela's in good spirits, obviously all in. And I think what we talked about, it being a new era, it being a new team under a new coach, it brings a lot of new energy. So I think that's great to hear right from the beginning that, that he's bigging his teammates up like that. I want to hear Carlos speak soon. Who knows if that happens, but we'll get to that when we do.
Oh, Carlos speak. Yeah, we need to hear Carlos speak. Yeah, I hope they don't I understand, we had talked about him, he's never been a media guy, but I feel like this is America. This is the US, man. This is how we do it out here. You got to talk. You got to speak. That they can't be hiding you. I don't like that. And you're playing in LA. You're playing in LA. You're getting paid the big money. You got to be able to speak. And I think that goes for any superstar that comes to the city. JP, how about you? What were your thoughts when you heard Sanchez say that?
If he's healthy, he's the best. He's the best player in the league. You just want to see him healthy, and then he'll go back to maybe not 2019 numbers. It's not fair to ask him to replicate the best year in MLS. But if he's healthy the whole season, he can not easily, but he can very, very easily replicate Hani Mukhtar's season last year. Those are numbers he can attain if he's fully healthy, because he's not going to go out on international break. He's going to stay with the team, so he could easily do those numbers. Will he stay healthy? Will Cherundolo manage his minutes? That's what we will see. But when he has the ball at his feet, he's dangerous. He can open up space by himself. He can open up space for others and just makes the team just better. And, he is the best, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think when healthy, I would agree. But if he's not healthy, it gets trying to. I hate defending players that are so great, but then they get injured. And I just hope Carlos Vela is not that player. I just hope he's not that player, and I hope we're not saying like, oh, but when he's healthy, you know what I'm saying? I hope we're not talking about that this year. I hope we're saying like, yo, yeah, he is the best because he's healthy and this, and that. I hope we're like, oh, well, before he was healthy, you know what I'm saying? I just feel like that conversation can't continue this year. Look, if you're the best, you're gonna stay healthy. Unfortunately, I mean that depends on certain things, and things you could tear an ACL, you can do, that's uncontrollable. But like I feel like if everything's going right, I just feel like sometimes like some great players like Diego Maradona, like Michael Jordan, they never really have like crazy injuries, right? Like that, like season-ending injuries, or maybe they have something here and there, but if they do, they're able to come back. And I think hopefully Carlos Vela is able to come back and compete at that level. Because I'm with you, Andy. If Vela is good for the league outside of Galaxy, right? Everybody, even if Chicharito's doing good, Carlos Vela is doing good. The whole league is doing good. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because that just adds excitement and everything. Unless you're the opposing team and the opposing players, because then to you, it's unfortunate.
We want to see that tráfico, man. We haven't seen it.
Yeah, we want to see Vela versus Chicharito. We still have to see it. But another thing, Mahala is back. I know Sharon spoke about Mahala. I think you asked him about Eddie Segura. He said he's ahead of schedule. That's amazing news. I know Eddie Segura had posted about it. He had an ACL injury, so I think that's good because Mahala was amazing. Unfortunately, he got injured. Eddie Segura was amazing. Unfortunately, he got injured. So we will see. And I want to get to a comment here from Chris. Chris, he says we still need another prime defender with Segura still out. If Acosta and SKC midfielder and Moon play midfield, we still need another defender. The Atlanta guy isn't enough. I think his name is Franco Escobar. But yeah, I would agree that they still need more defenders. Andy, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think we talked about it last week. I don't think it's far-fetched to say that they needed another defender, but I think they're solid. I think that we didn't see enough of Ibiaga last year, and I think he could really be a solid piece for them back there, along with Escobar. There's players that I feel people are up and down on, like Cheeky sometimes, like Moon sometimes, but I think they're pretty solid. If you know you know who I'm gonna say is the one that I think is the weakest link back there. So, and it's not an 18-year-old or a 19-year-old, however old Mamadou is. So,
Is your boy? How you gonna do your boy like that?
so I think they're solid. I think they're solid, but the depth is never a bad thing, right? I think that they could definitely use another piece. But I think in terms of the experience they have back there now with somebody like Escobar, somebody like Ibiaga, who probably will get a lot more minutes now with Seguda working his way back. I think that back line is pretty solid, honestly.
I feel like they need to add a piece. JP, what are your thoughts?
Fullbacks are fine, both right and left, but center backs, you can argue that they do. But in Franco's interview, he said he started his career or his playing career as a center back. Ilie Sanchez played center back plenty of games last season for SKC. Ibiaga can easily start or be that filling guy until Segura gets back. I think Fall needs to really play. He's a guy that we can really develop and sell on, and truly say we formed this guy from the lights, and then finally to LAFC, and then off to Europe. So I would not, you can argue for it, but I think we're fine until now, until the summer transfer window, to see how Segura gets back, because the ACL injury is always tricky, and if everybody else stays healthy. But I think for right now we're good. I think the midfield is the area that the team really needs to focus on, because I think it's thin.
Okay, let's talk about that. Well, let's get to it says this is a perfect segment to that. He says, Elbow says, what DP position, if needed, does LAFC need to fill? We got they got Cristian Costa, Ilie Sanchez, Jose
Sifu,
Cifuentes,
Guinella, and Blessing.
Janelle and Blessing, right? So that's 5. But JP, you're saying the midfield is thin, and I just named 5 players. Tell me why you feel that way.
It's a World Cup year, and and we have 5 players. Like Cristian Costa is for sure in Berhalter's list anytime. We also have Cifuentes in Ecuador, who's fighting for that spot, who's going to want to show out and get called up in the World Cup year. Ecuador is most likely going to qualify this window, so the coach is going to call in maybe guys on the bubble, and Cifuentes is definitely on the bubble. So that leaves us with 3 midfielders being Blessing, Sanchez, and Guinella. And if one of those guys gets injured, you're left with 2. You might have to bring Cheeky back into the 6. So you don't really know. It's not like the international break is 4 or 5 months or anything, but it's still games. And if those 3 guys that are there get injured, you're left with 2. So I think you need another DP. I think the DP should be 8 or a 10. I think we have enough 6s and 8s. Sifu's the only true 10. If you want, you can put Chicho at the 10, but I don't think his passing is there, and I think we saw what he can produce as a striker. So I think we really need another midfield, regardless if it's a DP or not. Bryce Ducla, if we could get another youngster in there in the mix, it doesn't need to be a big buy, but it's still only 5, and you're not gonna really have those 5 all the time.
I mean, yeah, you bring up great points, because it is a World Cup year, and I need to look when the World Cup qualifier. I know there's a World Cup qualifier this week, starting Thursday and maybe Wednesday. But yeah, if those guys are gone, right, it does leave them a little thin. Three guys, right? So that you do bring up an interesting point that potentially it could be a 10 or it could be an 8. Andy, what are your thoughts on JP's comments there about LAFC potentially being thin with the World Cup?
Yeah, I do agree, because Cifuentes is on the Ecuador list, so he's with the team now, and he's going to still fight for that position. And we don't know how Pancho's bouncing back from that knee injury. That's also a toss up. So you kind of get stuck with Latif, not stuck in a bad way, but you're stuck with Latif and Pancho if you factor in those international call ups. And I think once again we're so caught in the system that Bob used to play, right, in that 4-3-3. And how things were so fluid. I'm interested to see if Cherundolo changes that and gives a little bit more of solidified roles for these players. Because if that's the case, this might be a crazy thought, but I could even see him using Vela as a 10 and really getting weird with it if you want to act up. So, Bob loved having, Vela roam around the wings and stuff like that. But if you really think of Vela as a 10, feeding the ball up to Chicho and maybe somebody like Brian.
That is ridiculous, yes.
That's a whole different idea. So I think the fact that it's a new coach, the fact that everything is so brand new, gives them a lot of that area to work in that maybe we haven't seen. And I think that's going to be a big advantage to them when they really figure out, what different formations they can use. Because right now it's a guessing game. We don't know. And teams are not going to know either. So that's to their advantage. But 100%, I would say DP needs to be in that more central attacking midfield role, because we know what Costa's a shoo-in for the U.S. And at the same time, you have to factor in injuries. You have to factor in fatigue. That's why I think a player like Bryce Duke leaving is kind of like eye opening. I mean, obviously there was corresponding moves, but a player of that caliber, of that profile, was like that perfect fit for them moving forward. Somebody that you don't need to start or give the most significant minutes, but somebody that could give you quality minutes. So I think that that's going to be a big loss for LAFC. But props to him. Hopefully he does well in Miami. But 100% needs to be more of that attacking minded midfield to kind of link that, bridge the gap rather, between the forwards and that midfield. But they're solid, man. I mean, if you think about Sifu, Acosta being on at the same time, that's dangerous, man. It's a really talented midfield, but once again, that depth is going to come into play for sure.
Yeah, I'm a little conflicted because JP, you made a great point, and you brought up a great point about the Vela playing the number 10 role, and I guess I won't be able to really be able to say until I see Saturday, even though it's not going to be a full team. But to me, if Vela plays a number 10, then that kind of takes care of the part because then he can facilitate to Chicho. We know how great a facility, and we barely saw them play. They played a couple games, but you know if we see a motivated Vela, a motivated Chicho, assuming a motivated Brian Rodriguez, who we're going to finish out here and talk about, and Vela filling the ball to them too. I mean, we know Chicho can finish, and we know at times Brian Rodriguez he struggled for most of his career with LAFC, but he did have he did have one banger against LA Galaxy. So if Vela's feeding those two guys, it looks good. It looks good and that looks scary. But I also think that I want to see how the team is play out. If they going to play the 4-3-3? Are they going to play 4-4-2? Right? Do they get a little bit more complex and switch it up 3-5-2? That I think that will be able to tell where we could potentially see that third DP. And I think that goes on to Diego Rossi. He hasn't been sold to Fenerbahce, and I keep seeing I got to follow some Fenerbahce accounts. He's coming off the bench still. He's still coming off the bench, so it's like I think they got a new coach, so it's not a for sure thing over there. So yeah, it's interesting. I don't think you get a third DP, and Chirundo spoke about it. He went along the lines that some things are not in his control, and I think that's what he may be alluding to is that Diego Rossi has not been sold, so you're not going to go out and go get another DP if potentially Rossi could come back, and I don't know if that would be a good thing, because he's already over there, and I don't think he already said his goodbye on Instagram and did all that thing, so I don't think he wants to come back, but. Yeah, I think right now the third DP is a waiting game for LAFC, and just try to still figure it out because there is a possibility if he doesn't go sold, he does come back. Let's finish off with Brian Rodriguez. JP, I know there's been on social media on Twitter about Brian Rodriguez. Brazilian reports out there that the Internacional wants a loan option to buy, but you have a little bit more information because you said JT was like on a radio station or something.
Yeah, he did a radio interview where he did not, deny the allegations. He said the reports were real, that the interest was real, and the reports haven't ceased since from Brazil. Nobody from the MLS has really reported anything, but the reports don't stop from the Brazilian media side. No Uruguayan big source has also stated anything, but if reports don't stop in Brazil and the move is to Brazil, then anything is possible. There's reports that Brian's agent went to Brazil, and there's reports that Brian already agreed to personal terms with Inter de Porto Alegre. The problem is that it's a loan with an option to buy, and I think Brian wants to be in Brazil because it's a World Cup year. He's 3-4 hours away from Uruguay. He's going to get that exposure, but the issue is LAFC doesn't make any money because LAFC made a huge investment in Brian, and if they don't buy him, then he just went to go waste another year in Brazil. And it's scary because he might just want to go to Brazil to be close to Uruguay for the World Cup year, come back, play that extra year because MLS is easily exporting players to Europe. He might come back the year after, do good here, and then go off to Europe. So it could be a lot of different scenarios that could play out. But if the reports don't stop, it's a worrying sign. And I think JT does not have the luxury to let go of him. Leave us with one DP being Vela, who is injury prone, and Chicho. If you give me assurance that Vela's going to stay healthy, then fine, maybe you can let him go. But if you bring two DPs in the summer for a team that has championship aspirations, it's a lot to ask for a new coach.
Yeah, I don't think I don't think a loan option makes sense for DP. You gotta sound like And it's hard. I think the thing about Brian Rodriguez is so hard because they paid a lot. Transfer market has. I've been saying this for years now. $11.5 million. You're not going to sell Brian. I don't think Brian Rodriguez is worth $11.5 million to any club. I don't know what the number is, but it's not there. And if they can't buy him for that, you're going to take a loss. And I think that's where it gets tricky for Brian Rodriguez because look, they paid what $4 million for Atuesta plus the add-ons, right? And I think what is it $6 million for Eddie Segura plus the add-ons. Diego Rossi has had a phenomenal year, better year than any year Brian Rodriguez has had, and LAFC's only been able to get 6 million out of him. I just don't see it, and I think the loan. I just think the loan just doesn't make sense. Any what are your thoughts?
That's a complex situation, man. I feel like
Yeah.
every situation revolving Brian Rodriguez ever
Yeah.
since that moment in Spain has been the same. It's like, is LAFC counting on him 100%, or are they kind of just 1 foot in, 1 foot out? Because I think once that's defined, we get to see a more relaxed B-Rob. But what JP says is true, man. He could be eyeing that World Cup spot, more than anything right now, valuing that more than anything, and probably seeing that him being down in South America would probably benefit him a lot more. But at the same time, you guys said it. If this is something that's actually feasible and going to happen, then I feel like it's going to reverse a lot of the good that LAFC and JT have done this offseason to kind of get put in that predicament. So not out of nowhere, but just so what's next type thing. Leaving LAFC with one DP just being Carlos Vela. So that would be something to keep an eye on. I don't know anything about the details or whatnot, but that's interesting to me. You just hear that for it being a possibility because I think B-Rod is a player that LAFC needs to count on this season through and through.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. But yeah, look, guys, we're gonna finish up there. JP, I want to thank you for hopping on. It's good seeing you. Any final words before we move on?
It's a very exciting season. I'm very excited to see what the team does. If B-Rod stays, then LFC, are one of the favorites in my book. You can leave that DP spot open if B-Rod doesn't leave until the summer to see what the team really needs. But if he leaves, then it's just another back to square one, I think. But yeah, I'm still excited. I still see a lot of promise in this team, and hopefully, we can do big and great things this year.
Yeah, no, we'll see. We'll see this Saturday. It's the first step for
Yeah.
LAFC. So we're gonna take a quick break and bring on Alex for the LA Galaxy side. All right, there we go. What's up, Alex? How you doing?
Hey, what's up? How are you doing? I'm good, man.
I'm good. I see you rocking the Liverpool. Is that
Yeah,
the most
Liverpool.
alive, bro? I gotta admit that jersey is
I
gangster,
love
man.
it. I
That
love it.
jersey I've seen a couple people wear it out in LA, but I was like, man, that jersey is really fly. When'd you get it?
I think maybe like a week ago,
A
week
week
or 2 weeks
ago.
ago. Yeah, not too long ago, but Mo Salah is with AFCON with Egypt, Africa Cup
Yeah.
of Nations. They have their round of 16 game tomorrow against the Ivory Coast, so that'll be interesting to watch. Both teams are really good, so I'm looking forward to that game.
Yeah, no, I know, man. There's so much going on, but we got to talk about Galaxy, man. There's so many things going on, and I think we gotta let me pull this up, but we got to talk about Douglas Costa, the new DP of the LA Galaxy. That is insane. They finally got it done. Here we go. We got Andy back. But yeah, we're talking to Andy. We're talking about Douglas Costa is the new DP. All we were just talking about Brazilian media. They're talking about. They've been talking about this. We knew it was a possibility, so now it looks like it's actually happening. Alex, tell me how you feel. I know. We talked earlier, and it was about like $5 million per year for him as a DP. How do you feel? What do you think about the signing?
In my personal opinion, I'm kind of conflicted about it, to be honest, because Douglas Costa has been known as a talented player for his time in Europe, in Ukraine with Juventus and Bayern. He's had the talent there. You see, there's like video compilations of Douglas Costa's skills on YouTube that you can watch. I loved using this guy in FIFA back in the day. It was so good. And I know he's talented. He's great on the ball. He's got a good left foot. Just the thing is, the injury concerns are really there, and that's something that really is going to bug a lot of LA Galaxy fans, considering Chicharito also went through a long-term injury last year that kept him out for 12 games. And ultimately, that was the main reason why they didn't make the playoffs. They were lacking their leader, their goal scorer, and that ultimately costed them a playoff spot. So getting two very valuable players who are injury prone is very concerning. And really, I think that's going to put way more pressure on Kevin Cabral if those two players get injured. So that's that dynamic there where you could put even more pressure on Cabral after he has so much pressure after, the disappointing season he had last year. But I think he can play anywhere in the midfield. He can maybe play as a 10 a couple of games. He played 5 games in Brazil with Grêmio as the number 10. But he mostly plays on the left or right wing. So I think it'll be interesting lineups to see. I'm interested to see how Vanney's going to want to use him. But overall, he's a big name signing. Douglas Costa's played in Champions League games. He's played with some of the biggest clubs in the world. And, it's not really a classic big name LA Galaxy signing, but, he's still a big name. Just there's a lot for him to prove this season.
Yeah, look, this is a big name. The figure amount is crazy. Because it's Douglas Costa, and I think we had you last time. He's been inconsistent, and now he's coming to the Galaxy. The big thing for me is he's known to play as a winger, and I felt like the Galaxy needed a 10. Maybe they can potentially still get another 10. They're not going to be able to get a DP if they're paying him $5 million a year. But we'll have to see. You're adding another winger. We'll see how this lineup, this solid lineup that the LA Galaxy has now. Where is he going to play? Where does Gran Sur go? Where does Gran Sur go? Because Gran Sur is on the right side. What does this be? Or if Douglas Costa plays the number 10, what does that mean for Efrain Alvarez? Right? So many questions, right? Andy, what are your thoughts on this on Douglas Costa coming to the Galaxy?
It's crazy. It's crazy. We'll put the first thing out there. We know he's a great soccer player. We know he has skill. And obviously that experience goes a long way when you're playing in Europe for the teams that, Alex mentioned, just crazy resume. But at the same time, you guys bring up the point that, like, where does he factor in on this team right now? And the system that Vanney has set up, the amount of trust or confidence you use, he has Kevin Cabral, just to think. So if Costa gets plugged in, who gets moved around, like you guys mentioned, and how does that go about? In terms of the the signing itself or just the move, I feel like for the Galaxy it makes sense because they're in that business of bringing these bigger name players. Although this may not be of the stature of Zlatan or Chicharito, whatever the case may be, it's still huge for the league, huge for the Galaxy. So I think it's a pretty good look. But once again, those injury concerns are always going to be something that comes back. And Alex brought up a great point. You already have your biggest player who just came off of a pretty good year, but had he been healthy, this Galaxy team has a whole different fate. He probably wins Golden Boot, and there's so many different things that factor into how the season ends. So it's a risk, but most of these big name signings are, right? Look around the league, look Inter Miami, look at all these different teams that have brought in these bigger name players that have played in Europe. That's kind of what that spot is kind of known as for these bigger markets. So it'll be interesting, man. I didn't even, when I heard that the first time, I was like, is this a joke? Is this real? So
I felt the same way. Way.
But hey, man, what are you gonna do, right? I think that if you're gonna take these chances, if you're gonna try to build this team up, if you're really serious about getting the Galaxy back to this level of that they have in the league of people respecting them, obviously the championships, then you got to kind of take these risks and go forward that way.
Yeah, I definitely do feel it's a risk because Pavon is still out there. We'll see. I know, Alex, I was talking offline that the potentially that could be a option for him to come on a TAM deal. We'll see how likely that is, but I don't know how they make that possible. Because I felt like a guy like Pavon definitely may have been more ideal. But the thing about Douglas Acosta, you're getting a player that is you're getting a lot of unknowns, right? You're getting a player more that comes across. He's more at the tail end of his career, and I feel like this DP spot for the LA Galaxy, I feel like it's the player that could take him over the edge. You know what I'm saying? So if Douglas Costa comes in being the motivated Douglas Costa and is flashy and does everything that he needs to do to help this LA Galaxy, I think it's gonna it's an amazing signing. But if Douglas Costa comes out here like the rest of these former European players, and just coming on vacation just to collect a big bag, then that's gonna be terrible for the LA Galaxy because this guy is the guy that I feel like this DP, not necessarily Douglas Costa, but the DP spot. I feel like it's the guy that can take the Galaxy over the edge. And I'm not saying it depends on Costa. I know it's a team sport, but that's such a vital roster spot. and there's so much unknown that is coming from him, and it's not like a signing that everybody's like jumping up in the air and this and that. It's more like I was like, okay, let's see, let's just see where the chips fall with this one because I feel like if they're somehow still able to get Pavone somehow in a TAM deal, then okay, it makes everything so much better. But if they don't get a player like Pavone, it doesn't have to be Pavone, but I feel like you still need a number 10 or somehow Efrain Alvarez is able to step up and take that role. But yeah, it's more head scratching right now until we actually see Costa play with the Galaxy and how he fits, where he goes and stuff, how he's able to, because right now this roster clicks. I've talked to Julian Araujo, you've talked to Bond. Everybody has said the same thing. This team is clicking. You don't want someone that doesn't click with the rest of the group, right? He's gonna be. I'm assuming he's gonna be one of the bigger egos there on that locker room, and we'll see how that works. We'll see if how that works with Samuel Grandsir, how that works with Efrain Alvarez, because I definitely feel like Samuel Grandsir is earned a spot. I feel like Kevin Cabral. I don't feel like even though he's a DP, he's really earned a spot. But like I don't know. I'm just conflicted on this because it's not making sense in my head. But we'll see. I mean, Greg Vanney is a very confident man, and he's willing to take risks, and I just want to see how this works. Anything else you guys like to add about Douglas Costa?
No, I think that covers him, man. It's one of those, like you said, it's one of those head scratchers, and you kind of have to just see how it factors in.
Yeah. I'm very surprised. I just feel like it could have been more of a TAM, but like, hey, he probably wasn't going to come out here if he didn't get that big money. Let's talk about Kevin Cabral because Greg Vanney said something along those lines. He played like a wet noodle. I don't know. I don't got the exact.
Yeah,
Wet noodle.
he said when Cabral came in last year, he looked like a wet noodle because he
I
didn't have
don't
as many
know
muscles.
what made him say that.
My favorite part of the whole press conference. I could have hung up after that.
I didn't know what made him say that. I was like, what? A wet noodle? Okay, but I guess because he's skinny. I don't know. But he went on to talk about like, yeah, that Cabral needs to put in the work, man, and he's getting big money, and he also said that if he would have put some of those in, he probably would have had 10 goals this past season. He probably would have,
Not wrong. Not wrong.
Yeah, and I'm wondering what has Kevin Cabral done this offseason to take his game to the next level, because if he's going to be starting on the left hand side or the right hand side, what I'm saying, it's not going to look good if you haven't taken your game to the next level and stepped up. How do you feel about Cabral, Alex, this season? What would you like to see from him?
I mean, I think his whole mentality has really changed about MLS because he came in last season in the middle of the year, kind of, and he never really got acclimated to training camp, to the MLS, never got a preseason in, had to get to know his teammates on the fly as they were coming in as well, had to learn the system on the fly as well. So I think this training camp really is going to help out his game and understand what Vanney wants to see this team tactically do. And I think he's going to get a better understanding of, his role at the club, knowing he's a DP, knowing what to do on the pitch, where to be on the pitch. And, the big thing with him last year was finishing in confidence. He didn't have that. It's a completely new year. He's, getting back with the teammate. They're putting last season behind. That's kind of been, the thing. One big thing I got about the press conference was, Vanney started off talking about, hey, we didn't have a good year last year. We're going to try to put that behind us now and, focus on 2022. So I think that mentality with Cabral putting everything behind is going to happen for the rest of the team as well. And I think we'll see a good bounce back from Cabral. I think he'll get double digit, goals and assists like in total. And I think he'll really be productive. I think this year 2 will be productive, and he'll continue to grow as the league, continues to grow on him.
Yeah, I also think it's big for the Galaxy. Andy, what are your thoughts on Cabral for this year?
Yeah, just about the same. I mean, the wet noodle comment was funny because it was sort of like a backhanded compliment for Vanney saying that he actually put on some muscle and that he actually looks a lot stronger. So that's kind of where that came about. But if that is the truth, then that's huge, because I think that was probably the biggest, like, let's say, flaw or character flaw that you could say about him is like, if he's going one-on-one with a defender, good luck, because speed could only get you a certain amount of, advantage if you're not physically strong enough. So for sure, if that's the case, then that's huge in the right direction. And what Alex said is spot on about just getting adapted to the league. We said that last year all the time when you're bringing in all these foreign players coming in from different countries and they have this certain idea of MLS and then they get here and it's like a rude awakening to them. It's tough. It's tough to get acclimated to. And then obviously the season goes on. You're winning some games, then you're losing some terrible games. So everything mixes in. I think obviously having that year under his belt and having this time to really get, down with the team, get acclimated and see, how they're gonna move forward and the new mentality. Just a lot of different things change within the offseason. I think he could definitely have a pretty solid bounce back here. And the thing is, I think people are expecting that. So that's only going to drive him more because I think he knows, I think that we know from the qualities we've seen that he is a very good player, but he just had a little bit of those unsure touches or just like the moments at the end that he just wasn't firm or positive enough to put it away. And, I think once those start rolling, then we see a whole different Kevin Cabral. So he could actually be a very, very big part of this Galaxy team. Maybe more than some people may expect from the outside looking in, but us that are closer to the team and follow it more for sure could see him having a big season for them, especially with players like Leggett and Jonah gone for sure.
Yeah, no, I expect a big year from Kevin Cabral. Hopefully we haven't really seen him. Hopefully he put on definitely some muscle, because that's what he was missing, and being strong on the ball. And even like, look, I know he's not. I'm not comparing him to this player, but you have a player like Neymar who's not big but knows how to use his body. Knows, what I'm saying, like, he doesn't need to be Neymar, but I'm saying they have similar physiques. And there's a difference, right? Between being a world class player and obviously still developing, being young and stuff like that. But I think he's able to understand how to use his body and how to be stronger on the ball and finishing. That is nothing physical or nothing like that. Being able to finish is just that's on you. That's on you putting in the work after practice, before practice, and everything. That's literally on him. I just feel all those opportunities that he will get this year, because I know those opportunities will get because of Chicharito's making the runs and stuff like that. He's gonna get those opportunities. He's gonna have to put those away, because if he doesn't put those away, there can be criticism. The pressure's definitely gonna be on him even more, because he's had another year. But I think the finishing, that's something that you can naturally learn and just put in the work. But if he hasn't been putting in this work, then I don't feel like the Galaxy are only going so far, because we know how vital DP positions are. We just talked about Douglas Costa. Now we're talking about Kevin Cabral. You gotta hit mostly all three of them, right? If you're gonna go pretty deep into the playoffs and make a championship run, which I know this Galaxy team has those aspirations to do. So I think that's going to depend on Cabral. If Chicharito has a similar season to last year, and Douglas Costa is able to come in and help out in some way, I think that's going to be very vital. Let's talk about another player. Galaxy. I know we talked about this last week, but they've officially signed Marky Delgado. Alex, what are your thoughts on that?
I like it. I mean, Vanney got one of his guys from Toronto that was really reliable. Marky Delgado was a great piece for Toronto's midfield. Did all the dirty work, covered the back line, covered lots of distance. He was the guy that was running most of the pitch and doing everything. The Galaxy wished they could have gotten out of Jonathan Dos Santos last year, but now they're getting that guy for a lot less money. And I think he's going to be really productive with the Galaxy. He's not going to score goals. He's not going to have many assists, but he's going to do the little things, that a team needs to function, because the team is just a bunch of cogs in one big machine. And Marky Delgado is going to be an important cog in getting that machine going once again. And, I think Vanney really liked what he saw from Delgado. He traded for him, gave up $400K in GAM in order to get him from Toronto, from Bob Bradley. So I think he's going to have a big role with this team. I think he's going to be a way more productive player when it comes to defending, helping Raveloson really flourish as a player, because Dos Santos and Raveloson didn't work last season. As hard as they tried, it just really wasn't successful. And I think Delgado and Raveloson are going to be a way better deal when it comes to keeping the Galaxy backline safe and also really improving their defense as well, because you can talk about the Galaxy's defensive struggles, but it's the defense and midfield as well. And I think this midfield is ready to take a step up when it comes to the defensive play.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think Dos Santos and Raveloson for whatever reason did not click. But yeah, no, I like this signing. I think you're gonna feel a lot more comfortable with those two back there. Andy, what are your thoughts?
100% agree. I'm always a fan of coaches going back to get guys that they've had before, because it shows that they have a really big belief in them. And it shows that there's something to be said when you have a player that, was part of a championship team with said coach going to a different team and having those same aspirations, right? And the coaching staff, he's familiar with not just Vanney, but the whole coaching staff, as is Raheem Edwards. So you see Vanney start putting those pieces together. Vasquez, another guy, one of his guys. So it's one of those things that Vanney is going to give Vanney a lot of comfort, but it's also going to give the players a lot of confidence. And I think that is what the Galaxy need the most, if we're being honest. We know there's players of quality. We know that, they all have individual talent that could lead them to certain things, but I think they need that confidence. Coming off the year they had last year, I think the Galaxy are in a point that they need to prove that we are a team, not just Chicharito led, right? And if you bring a player in like Marky, and it's the same thing, a lot of that onus fell on Jonah last year, but we talked about it last week. Like Jonah's inconsistency with the injuries, and obviously you see his level decrease a lot. Alex brings up a great point. That middle space between the midfield and the back line was really a lot of where the Galaxy were hurt at. And Mark is going to cover a lot of that territory. It's going to boost Revelison, of course. And that's just areas that with age and with injuries kind of lacked with Jonah. So I think in that sense, it's huge. And I said it to you last week. I could see Marky being one of the most important players on this Galaxy team this year, not even being, hyperbole or prisoner of the moment, because of the energy he's going to come in with. Alex mentioned his personality. He's one of those guys that he's going to be on the ball. He's going to fight. He's going to do whatever he needs to do. And I think if you just look at it, a sense of swapping Jonah for him, that's a home run for Greg Vanney and the Galaxy.
And Marky's way younger as well than Jonathan Dos Santos. He's 26. He's gonna be 27 by this season's end. So he's still in his prime in his midfield. He doesn't really have an injury history as well. So that's an even bigger plus for them, because if the Galaxy can have a consistent midfield, which they didn't have at all last season due to injuries and international duty, this team's going to be a lot stronger. And that's really the position that was lacking a lot last year, was the midfield, the regression of Dos Santos, Leggett not working, Revelison really not being, fit in the right system as well. If the Galaxy can hit a home run with their midfield all season long, then they're going to be a strong team. They'll be able to win those gritty games where you just need to, win 1-0 and that's it. And that's really something the Galaxy haven't been able to do for the last couple of years, because, they haven't been a complete team as well. So I think this Marky Delgado signing is just a home run.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the health part of that, Jonathan Dos Santos was not able to be healthy with the Galaxy, and now you're getting a player that's motivated, knows the coach, knows the system, and knows what he needs to do, knows exactly why he's here to the Galaxy and where he's going to play. So I think it's a home run there. Quickly back, Mike Gray, he says the Cabral hate was overblown. To be honest, midseason DPs rarely show up and produce right away. I would agree that they show up right away. I think for me, I just felt underwhelmed with some of the production. But yeah, no. But also, if you're a DP, there's so much more expectations. But yeah, look, like anything, it could definitely get overblown. But yeah, but I think this year we'll have to see how we spoke. I want to talk about excuse me, let me pull this up. I want to talk about Julian Araujo. I spoke to him. He officially got the call up by the next Mexican national team. He's there, right there in practice. He's over here smiling. I think it's a big step, big testament of what he's done. What he's done with the LA Galaxy. They got a game this Thursday. I believe is Jamaica.
Away to Jamaica.
Yeah, against Jamaica. Obviously speaking to him, I know how motivated he was, how excited he was for this opportunity. To me, it was a no-brainer. If Tata Martino in the column, there would be something off there. But now I think it's for him to start. I just, without a question, now that you've seen him, he's practiced, I think he's a starter for Mexico. And I think, we'll have to see how much of the season he misses with the Galaxy. But the one thing about Julian Araujo, about all these other Galaxy players, you know what to expect from him, right? You already know what you're gonna, and he's gonna come in form. He's gonna come in shape. If he's already able, and if he's able to perform for a World Cup qualifier game, he's gonna be ready for the season, regardless of not being there for the season. Alex, what are your thoughts of him getting the call up?
I mean, I'm a big fan of it for sure. I mean, he's with the big boys now. He's with, the best collection of Mexican players in the world right now. He's competing with Chaca Rodriguez and Jorge Sanchez for the starting right back job. They're in training together, all getting better together. So it's going to be a big show out case for Julian Araujo. They play Jamaica, which, I don't know who will be starting there, but if he gets to start there, I think he can definitely produce as well. I think he fits well in this Mexican system, he fits well just going up and down the field, being the support play for whoever the right winger is, whether it be, Lozano, Corona, Pineda, whoever it may be. I think he's going to be a good support player when it comes to overlapping runs, when it comes to getting forward. And I think, defensively, he still has that grit. I remember him saying, he loves to beat people one-on-one. He loves that feeling of being able to tell somebody that they can't get past him. So he's got the motivation to do it. He's got the passion to do it. It's just time to put it on the pitch right now. All of Mexico is watching for sure. Some people didn't watch the friendly against Chile because, it really wasn't the big stars in Mexico. But now this is a really important window when it comes for Mexico, and they're qualifying. Their last qualifying round was really, really bad. Lost to the US and Canada. They need to get at least 7 points this window and to help really assure that they'll be in the World Cup. Because if they don't, there's going to be a lot of people, even more people than before, calling for Tata Martino's head. And I think Julian Araujo is going to be the right player that needs to be put in, somebody young, somebody who wants something to prove, and somebody who wants to succeed with Mexico.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I think it's a great opportunity for both Mexico and Julian Araujo. Andy, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, he's earned it, man. And I think that's the most important part. I feel like a lot of times there's like younger players that kind of just get thrown to the fire because of names. We're going through it in Colombia. A lot of countries go through it where they have these young guys and they throw them to the national team because they're supposed to be, lead to something great. But Julian has earned it. It's not none of that with him. He's shown his play. Obviously, it was a big decision for him to choose Mexico over US. Everything has been in the right path for him, and I think that's why he's in the position that he's in now, because this is not anything that was given to him. This was something that he strived for, and his level shows it. He's improved tremendously through the years with the Galaxy. His energy is crazy. I think the same way the passion he defends with is important, how much he brings offensively to the Galaxy, at least. I don't know whether or not that's going to be kind of the same role that Tata will look for him for the Mexican national team, but at the same time, the qualities are there, and you guys speak about the World Cup. He's only going to want to keep proving himself, whether or not he gets a starting role, whether or not he's a backup, he's a sub, whatever the case may be. He's going to want to prove himself day in and day out with the Galaxy to make sure that he takes those steps for when they do qualify for him to be part of that list that's going to Qatar. So I think it's an amazing opportunity for Julian. I've talked about before how I think he last year was the best player on the Galaxy team by far. It's all great signs for him, and I think that even, if he doesn't go in and get that starting spot right away, he has the right mentality. Listening to his interviews, listening to you speak to him, just listening to how he presents himself, he has that right mentality. And I think at the end of the day, he's going to learn so much, right? It's about coexisting with these players. Like Alex says, you're with the best pool of Mexicans, so you're learning from these veterans, you're learning from the experiences. That goes such a long way in the development of a player, especially at that age and that position. So I think it's great for Julian. I'm so excited to see him keep growing both on the national team level and with the Galaxy, because I feel like the future is super bright for him.
Yeah, no, I'm saying he should start, but that's just me because I've seen the other options there. But whether he does or doesn't start, you're right. He's gonna have the best attitude about it. But yeah, like a player like that, we've seen him grow, we've seen him earn everything, and he's hustled, and he's rarely had a bad game. Maybe you could point out to the last game of the season, but a player like this rarely has those games. Rarely has those games, and when they do happen, it's something that you just look at and you're like, that doesn't happen all the time, and you sometimes you could live with that because you know what he's put in every single game, every single practice, and how he plays with pride and everything like that. So it's exciting. I'm definitely looking forward to the game on Thursday, seeing how he does or how many minutes he gets in. Hopefully he's in the starting lineup, and we'll also see how much time that will affect him with the Galaxy. But nevertheless, I'm not worried about him not being in shape or not being ready for the 2022 season. Let's finish things off. Let's talk about the Galaxy. They have a preseason game against Toronto this Saturday. It looks like at 11 a.m. None of us are invited. I don't think none of us can go. I don't even think the fans can go.
Yeah, it's a closed door game.
It's I don't understand these closed door games that they don't even. I didn't see them. I don't know if even. I assume we're not invited. But I feel like these exhibition games would be great for fans to at least come and watch. Just come and watch and see because you've been waiting for so long. So I just feel like even the Palm Springs things, I don't know if media or at least fans, but I feel like that's a great opportunity because we've all been waiting for it. We've all been waiting for it. And I think fans would definitely like to see it, even if they have in the backfield, right? Sometimes they don't have the games, the preseason games at Dignity Health Sports Park. They have it like on the back where I think G2 play. It'd be great if they open it up, but unfortunately they're not. But yeah, obviously we're not gonna know. I think it'd have been great to see them, to see how Toronto FC does. But we'll have to see till the next. When do they allow fans in? Is it Saturday, February 5th? Is that when against New England?
Yeah, the ones against New England and DC United, I think, are the
In,
ones that
D-
they have fans in.
in DC, yeah. Okay, it's February 5th and February 18th. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I'm very looking forward to when the Galaxy get all together. But I want to talk about Greg Vanney's comments. He started off the press conference, saying, paraphrasing here, we're all disappointed, because he said that they were right there in the playoffs the whole time until the final minute. So you can already tell he's motivated. What did you take from that press call, Andy?
I really liked Greg Vanney's call because, and I've talked to a lot of different media members about Greg Vanney. I think he's one of the most detail-oriented coaches in the league, hand in hand with Bob Bradley, which is unfortunate that they were both here and now one is gone. But I think Vanney just speaks it how it is, and I think we saw that so much last year, where things started to turn a little bit, and he never shied away from questioning his guys and motivating them, and trying to put pressure on them, because that's what a good coach does. And Vanney, to his credit, has the experience, has the resume to be able to do that. So I think him just admitting that, him talking about how this preseason already, they're already at a level that they weren't even close to last year at this time. It's a good sign, because what did Vanney tell us all last season? This is a process. This is a new team. This is not going to happen overnight. This needs to build up. And he said that throughout the whole year. We asked him what are the next steps, and he would tell us this is what we want to see next. But it was a very new team. So I think them going into this year, being a lot more comfortable with him with that mentality. It's good to hear him take that heat and say, hey, last year kind of sucked. We're all mad about it. We talked about it and moved on. But Vanney, to his credit, like I said earlier, one of the most detailed guys. He's never going to hold back. He'll answer every question truthfully. And I think he gives us a lot of what needs to be heard from a coach, right? Seeing it from the players. He's a coach. The players all love him. They all love that coaching staff. So I think I love that press conference. I really do. For it being the first words he said this season, it was like, hey, this is where we're at. I'm not going to hold any words back. Not that we would expect that, but he speaks to exactly what fans feel, because you can't hide that type of stuff, right? You're not sitting in Bob Bradley's press conferences and wondering, if he's going to get mad or say something. Like Vanney's going to say, hey, this is what happened. Keep it moving. So I love it. I love this press conference. I thought he was very spot on with a lot of things, and it's a good, refreshing start from day one to hear him speak like that.
Yeah, no, I think all his press conferences, he's always been, to your point, very honest, very straight point. Doesn't shy away from answering the tough questions, and he's very transparent. I just had a comment there from Mike. He said, "I dig Vanney's transparency because that's what you want. If you're a fan, or even us as the media, you want that when you ask a question that, like, even though sometimes they're going to be difficult questions, especially, look, they didn't make the playoffs. They should have made the playoffs. He even said it, that that they just missed it, and there's so much talent. There's so much talent on that roster, and I like listening to him talk and listening to him say, because there's nothing off the table that you can ask him, right? Obviously respectful and everything like that. Alex, what were your thoughts on listening to Greg Vanney?
Yeah, I completely agree with everything Andy had to say. And, those are the kind of traits, Vanney has as a winning coach in MLS. He's not going to hide away from, the thing that's right. He's not going to hide away from the elephant in the room. They didn't, have an end of the year press conference last year, after they missed the playoffs, to kind of, think about the season, talk about it all over again. And, this is kind of the first time we hear about them after that game. So, I'm glad he addressed it that, last year was, really disappointing, didn't go the way they wanted to do. And it's really something that, a lot of coaches, won't really want to talk about or completely move on from. So I really respect that from Vanney. And I really think that, last season was really a big, learning, for Vanney last year. Cause yeah, he's won MLS Cup, he's had success and stuff, but I don't think he's had a season like last season where it went down to the wire, had lots of obstacles in the way. Star player got hurt, players out of international duty, players coming in mid-season, having to deal with, a DP and kind of trying to calm him down and relieve some of the pressure off his shoulder. So last year was a big learning experience for him. And I'm really excited for what he can do this year, because he knows what it takes to win in this league. He's been successful for years. So it's all about, putting results on the pitch now. And I think I'm confident Vanney will be able to do that.
Yeah, no, and I think and Mike also commented. He's like, there was also a sense of urgency, and I definitely feel that. I also felt that as well from Greg Vanney. We'll have to see what this season holds. We talked about Costa, we talked about Kevin Cabral. We're assuming Chicharito is going to put out the same amount of effort, he's going to score around the same amount of goals. And with that, you have a pretty solid squad. You have a solid, like you just mentioned, solid coach that has won in this league. Now it's just a matter of putting everything together and see what happens, because this team has big aspirations, and I don't not just making the playoffs is going to cut it anymore, or missing the. I mean, not just even missing it, but you got to make it and stuff. But they got to get over that hurdle, and I think this could be the year to see them hopefully go for something special. But I think that's gonna be it, guys. We talked about a lot. It was a good show. We're gonna have to see Douglas Costa. We're gonna have to brush up on a little bit of our Brazilian or Portuguese. A little bit. I know obrigado, and that's about it. So I'm gonna have to practice a little bit more. Do you guys, you know any Portuguese, Andy?
Nah, man. Nope.
Alex, what about you?
I'll try to learn Portuguese. I'll try.
Yeah, the thing is from the Latin root, so it's like sometimes when I hear like certain Brazilian interviews and stuff, I can kind of make it out because I was like, oh, that sounds kind of like
Yeah, it sounds
Spanish.
similar. Yeah, I had a human
Similar,
geography teacher who spoke Brazilian to us on the first day, and I was like, I know what you're saying, but I don't know at the same time. So it
exactly.
was confusing, but I think it wouldn't be too hard for me to learn Portuguese.
Yeah. Well, look, there's another star in LA, and we'll see what happens here with Douglas Costas. But look, I want to thank you, Andy. I want to thank you, Alex. Also, JP, who was on earlier. But yeah, guys, that's gonna wrap things up. Want to thank everybody for tuning in, everybody in the chat, and we'll catch you guys next time. Bye, everybody.